Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Fagley, and you're listening to Knightline Extra only on the Knightline Sports Network. That is correct. I am Andrew Fagley, and this is Knightline Extra. Knightline, winners of the Florida BlogCon's favorite podcast of the year at their 8th annual awards. Thank you very much, Night Nation. We appreciate it. It's been an emotionally draining week for all of us as our thoughts continue to be with UCF quarterback Mackenzie Milton and his family. A little reminder, Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. Tough to move forward, but forward we must. This week, the undefeated Knights face a familiar foe, the Memphis Tigers, for the 4th time in 2 seasons, a home game for the Knights. A Saturday showdown being billed as winning one for KZ. We all know what's at stake. Can Darryl Mack and the 11-0 Knights extend the nation's longest winning streak to 25 games and earn back-to-back American championships and New Year's bowls? In this extra, we will hear from a Memphis insider. Trey Strelko hops on the AAC's conference call to talk with AAC Commissioner Mike Oresco and Tigers head coach Mike Norvell, and former UCF quarterback Nick Patti goes inside the red zone. Here we go.
5 questions with an insider, getting to know this week's opponent.
All right, UCF and Memphis again. Our next guest is a regular. It's Isaac Simpson. Isaac covers Memphis football for the Tigers Sports Report. This week, Isaac rejoins us on the Knightline hotline. Welcome back. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. It feels like we do this a lot. Like you said, I think this will be the 4th matchup in 15 months, man. It seems like these teams play each other a lot. A lot of history in this series, especially over the last couple of years. Like I said, this is going to be the 4th meeting in 15 months.
Isn't that crazy? I don't know of any other team that plays another team that often.
No, yeah. It's crazy. Like I said, man, the 2nd year in a row, we see you guys 2 times. It wasn't the path I think we expected here in Memphis to get back to this AAC championship game. It's kind of a weird deal. Memphis someone apparently left the back door open, and Memphis kind of sneaked in there. I think we even here as people that cover the team and Memphis fans here, and kind of given up on Memphis' chances to win the West and get back to that game. I mean, sitting here at 4-4 after 8 games, and at that point, I mean, you take tough loss early to Navy, then you kind of get your doors blown off down at Tulane, down in New Orleans. You come back, and the game against UCF, man, to go back to that game a little bit, it feels like Memphis had you guys on the ropes, and second half came, and the rain came, and this team really struggles in the rain, and UCF was able to get out of here with a 1-point victory, and then you go give up 60-plus points to Missouri, and we're kind of thinking this is just going to be you get to a bowl game, whatever bowl game you can, get to that 6 wins, and see where you are. But we found our way back into the AAC championship game. It's crazy, but I don't think a lot of us thought Memphis would be here right now.
Yeah, well, that is a crazy path. I just have to say UCF played their worst game, that one that we won by 1 point. That was our worst game all year. We hadn't played like that since, and we hadn't played like that before. I don't know what the deal was, but it was not a good week, I can tell you that. It's been a special season for running back Darrell Henderson. Remind us of his strengths and what we can expect from the offensive line.
Oh, yeah, man. Darrell Henderson, what can you say? Finalist for the Doak Walker Award. I mean, he's been absolutely sensational this year. Played really well last year, and, I mean, he even took it to another level this year. Added about 15 pounds of muscle in the offseason. Said that he was kind of a smaller guy, and said that he wanted to get stronger, and he wanted to run over people, not just kind of be that finesse back, and he definitely did every bit of that this year. Just been absolutely amazing. I think he would get more Heisman talk if we weren't talking about a guy at AAC, and we all know some of the biases that come with that, not being in the Power 5 and all of that. But, I mean, he's been absolutely amazing. And this offensive line is really protected for him, and not only him, also Pat Taylor Jr., who's another running back who gets a lot of run as well. That 2-headed monster has been devastating for teams this year. So, I mean, that's definitely this team's bread and butter. They want to come out and run the football and run it early and often, and that kind of sets up their offense, because basically Brady White's not a quarterback that's going to has that big old arm that we saw with Riley Ferguson and Paxton Lynch and guys we've had here in the past. So he's kind of a dink and dunk intermediate pass guy. Take a shot when there's one there, and they really use that running game to set up that passing game. And if Memphis can come out and get rolling downhill with Darrell Henderson, who I think is the best running back in the country, they can be really tough to stop.
Do you have confidence in the Tigers' passing game if UCF is able to contain Henderson?
That's interesting. That if a team can slow down this running game, which there have been many teams that have been able to do it all year, but if you can stop that running game, I think Memphis will struggle. They try to not put Brady White in situations where he's forced to throw the ball down the field, and when you going against a team like Central Florida that can really put points on the board, sometimes you get caught in to that up and down game, and you want to try to play the same type of game that they play, throwing the ball deep, and that's not really Brady White's strength. So if UCF can slow this running game down, I don't think that bodes well for Memphis.
What do you think of the Memphis defense against a Mackenzie Milton-less Knights squad?
It's going to be interesting. The defense struggled earlier in the season, but over the last few games, they really played well. I think the win at SMU. So a weird, ugly game, not a high-scoring game, not one that you're going to put on the training tape, especially offensively. But defensively, I think they played their best game of the season against SMU. And they also played really well in the finale against Houston as well, especially in that second half. This defense is really improved. And it's interesting because we don't know a lot about Matt and what he brings to the table. So it's going to be interesting with Chris Ball, defensive coordinator Chris Ball, and how he prepares to play a guy that they don't have a lot of tape on. And I think that can sometimes when you're playing a guy that you don't know a lot about, especially at the quarterback position early on, I think it was kind of the same way with Clayton Tune against Houston last week. They might take you by surprise a little bit. You don't know what to expect. I think once Memphis settled in that game, they figured out what he was. They were able to slow him down. I think that could be the same deal with Mac. And I'm sure UCF is going to come out emotional with the situation. And they're at home. It's a big game. You have Mackenzie Milton go down like that. They're really going to come out fired up to try to win this game for him. So I expect UCF to play well. I don't think this is going to be a cakewalk for Memphis at all. I think it's still going to be a close game. But defensively, like I said, I think they just have to play their game. If UCF is able to put points on the board, I think Memphis still needs to come out and run the football and try to do it that way. Because like I said, they don't want to get into this big up and down game where they have to pass the ball all over the field. That's just not Memphis's game. And if they get into that type of game, I think, like I said, I think that's advantage UCF for sure.
It could be interesting because we really haven't seen all that Mac has either. Honestly, you asked me earlier in the week when we were just texting back and forth, tell me about him a little bit. I can tell you, and I told you this then, that he has unbelievable high school tape, but that was 2 years ago. As a redshirt freshman, he played the ECU game. He started that game. It's his only start, except for, playing the 3 quarters that he played this last week. It's going to be interesting on our side as well as far as he goes. We want to see him unleashed a little bit. I can tell you that he's very big.
Yeah.
He's a big quarterback.
I saw that, yeah.
And he has every bit of an arm strength-wise as Mackenzie does. Doesn't have quite as much touch. And that's what you get, I think, with quarterbacks that haven't played very much in live situations. It takes them a while to get that touch. That's the part that worries me. I have confidence in him, and I have confidence in our staff. So I think that we're going to see a little bit more from Darryl Mack this week than what we've seen before in the past.
I think, and I'm going to be honest, I think from the Tiger side, I think a lot of Tiger fans are going into this thing maybe a little bit too overconfident. I think they think this is going to be an easy game, and I don't feel that way at all. Like I said, Mackenzie Milton is extremely talented. We all know that, but the cover is not bare with him being out with the Central Florida team. I mean, you still got weapons, especially on offense. I mean, you look about running back Greg McCray. You got Gabriel Davis at the wide receiver position, who's 6'3", 212, who's definitely going to be a challenge for this Memphis secondary and how they match up with him with his size. I think this is going to be a close game. I mean, outside of that first game last year, these games have been a battle all the time, and I expect nothing less on Saturday. I think this is going to be a close game, and I'm not thinking Memphis is going to go over there and run over the Knights at all.
No.
I think a lot of people are thinking this is going to be an easy game. Mackenzie Milton's out, and that's it. Memphis is AAC champions, and I think they should pump the brakes on that a little bit. I'm not that far down the road. I think this is going to be still a great game.
Well, I hope that they come in thinking that. I really do. You know that. I mean, I would love for him to come in thinking that because we're loaded with weapons. We have a 4-headed monster or maybe even a 5-headed monster as far as running backs go.
Yeah,
you will see a little bit more running, I believe, this week.
Yeah.
But the 6'3", 230-pound quarterback can also run. In the garbage time, of course, he ran for 70 yards for a touchdown. He's had other runs of 30 and 40 yards. And nobody knows what to do with him because he's so big and he's a massive dude. So I think he'll bring some style at that running position as well besides all of our running backs. McCray is on, a streak now of 100-yard games. And if McCray does well in this game and our bowl game, he could be a 1,000-yard rusher as well. So I think we found something there, which is really exciting because he was a walk-on. Can the fourth time be the charm for Memphis, Isaac?
Well, I do think Memphis wins the game.
You say that every time.
Yeah. Well, I think did I pick Memphis last time? I think I did.
I think so.
Yeah, I think the line opened up. I think it was at 7.5. It's down to 3 now. I think it's going to be a really close ball game, but I think UCF comes out emotional, like I said. But if Memphis can take that initial punch and kind of hang in there, it's a close game. I think that running game can wear them down, to wear the UCF defense down into the second half, especially if UCF is, like I said, they're going to have to run the ball. I think we'll see a lot more running than we used to from the Knights, and I think if you get into that game, I think it's advantage Memphis if it goes to the running game. And I think it's going to be a really close game down the end, and if that's the case, I think Memphis wins. Now, if UCF gets out big early, I think that's where Memphis could get into problems at. I don't know if, like I said, if they can't take the initial punch, UCF gets out to a double-digit lead in the first half. I think that's definitely advantage UCF. But if it gets to a close game and it gets into a game where clock control game where Memphis is running the football and able to get downhill, I think that bodes well for the Tigers. And I think Memphis squeaks out with right on the line, like a 3-point win. I think it's going to be close, but I think the fourth time is a charm. And it's, like I said, it's without having Mackenzie Milton. I think that is going to have a toll on them over the whole ball game. I think they will miss him at times. I mean, he was missed so much to the offense for that team, and you got a guy coming in. Like I said, I mean, he brings great attributes. Like you said, he's a big guy, and I think he'll have some success. But you coming into a game of this magnitude, I think that's going to be tough for him to do it over the whole game. But I think Memphis squeaks out with a win.
All righty, well, we shall see at 3:30 on Saturday, I guess. Isaac, thank you, man. Tell everybody where they can follow you on social media and where they can see and hear your stuff.
Oh, man, no problem. They can find me on Twitter at Isaac, ISAAC _rivals. I'm also at Rivals, it's just TigerSportsReport.com. And always on talking Tigers, talking AAC in general, and it should be fun. I'm glad to have another opportunity as you guys feel like we kind of let you guys off the hook last time, but it should be fun, man. Fourth time in 15 months, man, unprecedented. It's crazy that we're matching up again. Like I said, I don't think we thought Memphis would be back in this position. It's kind of a weird deal, but UCF has that long winning streak on the line, and I think this might be where it ends.
All righty. Thank you so much, man. We'll see you, like I said, on Saturday.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, a little reminder here to be sure to check out the all-new NightlineSports.com for Knightline T-shirts, archived episodes, and more. Next, we hear from the American Athletic Commissioner Mike Oresco and Tigers head coach Mike Norvell. Then we're talking with former Knight Nick Patti when Knightline Extra continues in just a moment.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Postgame Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
You've heard us talk about the great food at our good friend Kyle Israel's restaurant, The Little Greek Fresh Grill. The Little Greek now has franchises available. Please call 407-697-2272. That's 407-697-2272 to see what The Little Greek can do for you. Also, check out The Little Greek's newest location at 6536 Old Brick Road in Windermere, Florida. The Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous. All right, in the lead-up to this week's American Championship game, AAC Commissioner Mike Oresco has resurfaced and was available this week during the league's conference call. Trey Strelko went easy on the commish, focusing on his reaction to KZ's injury.
Thanks to everyone for joining us for our American Athletic Conference Championship teleconference. We're excited to stage our 2018 championship game once again on December 1st in Orlando, Florida, as Memphis takes on UCF. The game will be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern and televised nationally on ABC. We will begin our teleconference with American Athletic Conference Commissioner Mike Oresco. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Can we get your thoughts, please, on the upcoming championship game and returning to Orlando?
Thank you, Chuck. First of all, I do, again, alluding to Mackenzie Milton, we're obviously very glad that the reports that, from his family that the surgery he had was successful, and obviously they're monitoring his condition. I just want everyone to know that we're all thinking of him, as everyone is around the country. Prayers with him, an outstanding young man. And this is not about football now. This is about his long-term health and well-being, and he's got a long life ahead. And we wish that that this he makes a full recovery. Now he's a great competitor and he'll want to play again, but that's not the point. The point right now is. We're all concerned about just him going forward, not having any issues from this, but it was obviously a terrible injury. So again, just want everyone to know we're thinking of him, and he'll be thought of a lot at the game, of course. Congratulations to both teams. These are two worthy teams. Obviously, UCF's had another incredible season, undefeated, and Memphis has come on strong. They gave UCF its toughest game earlier in the year, and they showed a lot of grit and fortitude coming back to win their division after having some initial setbacks. Obviously, we go back to UCF, which was a great destination last year. Ticket sales have been phenomenal. There should be a full house there. It should be another great look on ABC. We expect another intense, competitive game. There's a lot at stake, as you know, in this game, and I think both teams will give a good account of themselves. And then, obviously, we'll be looking at our bowl matchups down the road once this is over. And our goal, of course, in our bowl lineup is to play as many so-called P5, Power 5 conferences as possible. But we look forward to a great championship game. We've got two great head coaches, obviously, with Mike Norvell at Memphis and, of course, Josh Heupel at UCF. And what they've both done, Mike now has been there, several years now, and has just followed in Justin Fuente's very difficult footsteps and has done a phenomenal job. And Josh Heupel taking over with all the pressure, with the winning streak and all, has also done an incredible job. So we've got two great head coaches, two terrific teams, and it should be quite a day on Saturday.
And we'll hear from Trey Strelko with the Knightline Sports Network.
Commissioner, you mentioned Mackenzie Milton. Would you talk a little bit more about the impact his play has had over the last couple of seasons in helping to raise the profile of the American?
Well, Mackenzie's a unique player. He has special talents. He's a great leader, but he also is there's no other way to describe it. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, has been. And what he did, UCF has had outstanding teams the last few years, and he's been so integral to what they do, and his leadership, his competitiveness, his competitive fire. Yes, it's raised the profile of the American Athletic Conference, what he and his teammates have done the last 2 years, what UCF has done, there's no question about it. And this league has been good for quite a while, but there's no question his impact has been profound. And that's, and again, everyone around the country, he's well known. He's been a Heisman candidate the last few years. Everyone out there knows him, knows about him, and is pulling for him. And again, just It was a really hard thing. It's been a hard thing for everyone, and again, we just hope he's going to be okay.
What strides do you think the Americans made over the past year?
Well, I think we've been making strides really since the beginning, but this past year we took it to a new level. We, as you know, won a Fiesta Bowl and a national championship in basketball, men's and women's, in our very first year, and we've been outstanding since then. The last 3 years plus, we've had 33 P5 wins. We've had tremendous success in the New Year's Bowl games, but this year it was carried to another level because of the UCF winning streak. UCF being ranked as high as 9th in the CFP rankings and possibly even higher this week. That has brought tremendous attention to the league. We had our first conference game ever on ABC in prime time. We had Temple Notre Dame several years ago. So this year, everything has been carried to a new level. And in basketball, we're poised to be one of the best conferences in the country with Dan Hurley at UConn, with Penny Hardaway at Memphis. And you saw that the top recruit has, you saw that on ESPN, what Penny's been doing on the recruiting trail. We added Wichita State. So the conference, has never, UConn women are poised again to have a great season. The conference has been firing on all cylinders, but I think this year it reached certainly a peak, and to have UCF with that winning streak and to have the attention that we got from game day in Orlando, one of the best attended game days ever, was really tremendous for the league.
Thank you.
All right, following the availability with Commissioner Mike Oresco, Trey stayed on the line for a QA with the Memphis head coach, Mike Norvell.
Move on now to Memphis and head coach Mike Norvell. Memphis is 8-4 overall, went 5-3 in the American Athletic Conference to win the West Division for the second consecutive year. Coach, congratulations on getting back to the championship game. Thanks for your time today. Can we get your thoughts on the season to date and on the upcoming matchup with UCF, please?
Yeah, most definitely. I was really pleased with our football team. The way that we've responded here the last 4 weeks. It's been a special journey, and we knew that we had to continue to grow as a team, and you learn from the experiences that we faced throughout this year, and our guys have just continued to respond to the challenges that have been in front of us, and having to getting a big win against a Houston squad that came in. It was still a lot of explosive players. I thought defensively we played extremely well. Offensively, really took control of the game. Kind of physically wore them down. Being able to run the ball there in the second half was a great thing to see, and just the way that we played throughout. But being able to win the West for the second straight year is a great thing for our program. It shows that we're continuing to grow and progress. Even after losing some dynamic players from the prior season to keep that established, playing at a high level, and now to have another opportunity to go down to Orlando and play a great Central Florida team that has obviously answered the call every time that they've been able to step on the field the last couple of years. So we know going on the road, we've been in this atmosphere. It's kind of unique playing one opponent 4 times in the last 2 seasons, but we're excited for the opportunity, and our kids are going to prepare at a high level, and we're going to go out there and put our best foot forward, hopefully put ourselves in a position to be successful.
We'll take questions now for Coach Mike Norvell, please.
And from Trace Triclo with the Knightline Sports Network.
Hello, Coach. Your team had a great deal of success, especially on the ground against UCF a couple weeks back. What are you seeing differently from UCF on defense the last couple of weeks?
They've done a great job of attacking. Their kids play with a relentless pursuit. I mean, whether it's a base call or one of their pressure packages, it's one of the best tackling teams. Looking at their secondary, got a couple of wonderful safeties that can fill from the top down. These guys they've really done a nice job. The thing that people forget sometimes, with all the success that UCF's had is, they're still in their first year with this coaching staff, and with the schemes that they're playing, so just like anything else, with the more experience they're getting, you can see that sense of confidence continuing to grow. And going back from our first game to them to now, this is a team that's is much improved. It's one that you look at them defensively. It's an impressive group. They've got some talented players. They mix up playing man, playing zone. I mentioned the different blitzes and pressures that they present, but even when they're just sitting there playing base, I mean, they're tough to handle. So it's a talented unit. We're going to have to. It's going to take an extraordinary effort to be able to have success. But our guys are excited for the challenge.
Has UCF gotten Memphis's best shot yet?
I know we've went swinging at them. So it's been. We've had a couple of extraordinary games, these last couple of years, but we've at the critical times we've made some mistakes, and they've made some plays that have been the difference, and so we've got to make sure that going into this game, understanding that every play could be the one play, it could be the difference, and so whether it's in the first quarter or they're in the last drive in the fourth, we've got to make sure that we're maintaining our focus on the details, the situation. Can't do things that hurt ourselves, and understand that these guys are going to make plays. They're very talented in every phase. But if we can continue to focus on ourselves, and I got a tremendous amount of confidence in our football team and what we can do. Here on Saturday.
Thank you, Coach.
We continue getting you ready for Saturday's rematch with Memphis. We check in with former UCF quarterback Nick Patti next.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Hey Night Nation, it's Adam from the Sons of UCF. Be sure to check out our show every Wednesday only on the Knightline Sports Network. Now, back to two guys who probably won't be Cow of the Week nominees, Andrew and Trace.
This segment is brought to you by Scouted, the app where athletes of all ages get exposed, discovered, and recruited. Download for free on the Apple Store or Google Play and get discovered today. Welcome to Inside the Red Zone with Nick, the Wild Knight Patti. All right, please welcome back Nick Patti. Nick, I haven't talked to you since all this went down with Mackenzie. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a bleak time, a strange time for all of the Knight Nation. First and foremost, I guess, all the sympathies out to Kenzie and his family. What an exceptional kid that he is, and this is a awful thing to go through, at any point in anyone's career, but at as special of a time as he's had at UCF and what he's meant to, this program, it makes it hurt that much more, I guess. And, us that know Mackenzie and know his spirit and know what kind of kid he is, what kind of heart he has, and as you mentioned earlier, you and I were just talking, how much he's grown as a person, as a man. It just, your heart sort of goes out to him, and where he came from and where he's at now. And no doubt about it that he's a strong dude, and if someone can handle it, it's him and his demeanor, and he's got support behind him. But it's an exciting time for UCF football. We've talked about it for 2 years now, and he's been the lifeblood behind that. He's been as important as an athlete as the school's ever had in the history of athletics at UCF. And for him to go down, especially in that fashion, it's hard to say that doesn't deflate some of this excitement a little bit, especially on being on the brink of 2 undefeated seasons and going to a New Year's Six bowl and, being number 8 in the country and all that good stuff. So, it's a bleak time. At the same time, it's they've said it a million times in their press releases and all that. It's really time to get behind this team. There's a lot of talent still out there, and there's a lot of drive and a lot to still play for. And mainly McKenzie, and to do right by him and what he's meant to this program. So bleak time, but still an exciting time.
Yeah, I haven't even been able to grasp that we won the East and that we, have regular season wise, we've gone undefeated again. I haven't even been able to be happy about that yet, just because, I've been depressed all week. If you haven't heard me on the show from last week, I was almost bawling.
Yeah.
It's been such an emotional week. I can't wait for Saturday, though. I can't wait to see what this team does. I can't wait to see the crowd behind McKenzie and this team.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait to see what Daryl Mack does.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity, too, to show the character of our program, the character of our players, our seniors, our freshmen, everybody. It's an opportunity to step up and rise. And, everything happens. It's so cliche, but everything happens for a reason. And, it's another opportunity for our program to take another step forward and grow, as an alumni, as a fan base, as a team, whatever it may be. But, it's an opportunity for Daryl Mack to step in and continue rolling. It's, you just said it. It feels like 2 undefeated seasons are over, but it kind of feels like we lost, because we did, sort of.
And we beat our arch rival. So, and that's,
handled them, I handled them.
Yeah, totally handled them with our backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't a joyful moment after that happened to McKenzie. I haven't had one
I felt
since.
like I was in the twilight zone, the whole second half, if you will.
Yeah.
I felt like I don't even know. I don't even remember the second half. I know we looked pretty good.
I'm actually watching it over again right now just because I haven't wanted to watch it since. So I'm watching it just to see the good things and the bad things that Daryl did. And he did some really good things. Talk about the good things that you saw from him.
There was a lot, and I think the positive that we can all take, especially moving into this week, is that you saw a blueprint the second half of the USF game that they're going to have as an offense for him to be successful. One thing that I was very, very encouraged is their ability to run the ball. Has been a huge thing for us all year. Needless to say, it's going to be tenfold important this week with a very inexperienced quarterback. He's got some game time. He's got a start and a win under his belt, but by no means, is he experienced for a conference championship against a team that always gives us fits. But our run game is going to be tenfold important. They did a really good job, USF, of establishing the run. When it's no secret when a backup quarterback comes in, teams pin their ears back and they make you throw the ball. They take away the run. Well, USF really couldn't do that to us. We ran the ball really well, had a couple scores on the ground, and then when he had to throw the rock, he did. He shows flashes of a lot of talent. I think it's one of those situations where there's no doubt that he's a talented kid. He's got a huge arm. He's got, the size that you want in any quarterback. He's got athleticism to create offense and extend plays. It's just a matter of him getting comfortable enough to let that talent shine through. You see a lot of times, the Jamarcus Russells of the world that, and I'm not comparing Daryl to him or saying that they're similar, but guys with a lot of talent like that never get comfortable enough to let it, flourish. I don't think that's the case with him. I think you see signs that when he is comfortable in certain play calls, when he is comfortable in certain situations, and he can let it rip with some confidence, he's got some big talent and big upside, and the offense will surely suit to that. He's got a big arm. He's got big playability down the field. We all know that's a hypo MO. If our run game, again, is going to be important, but all that is play action and taking shots. I think the most important thing early on is for him to be able to get comfortable with some shorter throws, some screens, some bubbles, maybe to get an early run under his belt early to get those jitters out and, maybe get hit once. We all know as players that sometimes helps, when you're nervous, maybe to just get hit once and you're good. It remains to be seen. I'm very, very excited to see what he does with this opportunity because, again, I do think he has a tremendous talent. And I think we have a lot of talent on the offense to be able to support him and pick him up maybe if he struggles a little bit. I think that the guys, especially in our peculiar situation with losing our leader, I think they're ready to step up and carry him if need be. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I got a lot of confidence in him, and I'm hoping that he has a good showing.
With everything that McKenzie has meant to this team, you have to remember, and the fans have to remember, everybody has to remember, even I have to remember, this is not a one-horse team. It's not just all about McKenzie Milton.
Absolutely.
There's tons of talent from the offensive line to the kicker.
Well, I look at it today, what came out about the conference, first team, second team, honorable mention. I mean, I felt like I was scrolling for 15 minutes of guys that made all conference teams and honorable mention teams. And that's been I've been asked a billion times, it's like, what do you think without McKenzie? I'm like, well, there's a lot of talent on this football team, from Adrian Killings to Gabe Davis to which our defense is extremely talented. Our offensive line is extremely experienced, got a lot of talent. So there's a lot to look positively to with not taking anything from McKenzie. He, like I said earlier, I think he's the most important part of all of our long-term success, but I think there's enough talent on this team to be able to push us through this game and certainly a bowl game and get us in a new rhythm with some new blood at quarterback. And no, for sure, I don't think it's one of those, like a Johnny Manziel situation where you lose him and the program sort of starts to turn down. I really do think the cupboard is full. I think we got a lot of talent. And I think, like I said, you'll see that flourish Saturday, specifically in this circumstance, if you will.
Yeah, well, I posted on Facebook and in a couple of the football groups and stuff, I posted the video of Darryl Mack when he was in high school, his throwing video. He has a throwing video and a running video, basically.
Right.
He has unbelievable arm talent. The dude has a cannon, like an absolute cannon. Now, one of the hardest things for young quarterbacks to do is to take a little bit of the pressure off of that cannon sometimes, and we've seen it a little bit with him. He likes to throw the fastball.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that's a beautiful thing when you can. He threw one to the sideline to Gabe Davis, and I didn't even see the ball. It went that fast. So, and that was a beautiful thing. Why is it so hard for young quarterbacks to do that? Take a little bit of the power out of it.
It's tough. It's like a loaded question, I feel like. I think it would like almost be easier to coach somebody how to do it than to explain why it's hard, I guess. But for guys like him that are so strong and so big, and you like to be able to throw like on platform all the time, just because he's a little bit longer. He's got a little bit longer of delivery. And so guys like McKenzie can throw off their back foot, can, kind of create ways to change their launch angle, bring their elbow down a little bit. Daryl's more like a pitcher coming off of a pitcher's mound, right? And they like to be going all in the same direction and bring their weight coming downhill and bring all they have coming at the catcher. Where McKenzie's a little different. He's sort of like a shortstop or a second baseman where you can be off balance, you can change your arm and take a little juice off the ball. And it's just, it's one of those things like if you got it, you use it. You don't even think about it. You just let it rip. Like you said, I think with some of all of the back shoulder fades that we throw, a lot of the slants that we do in our RPO game, even some of the bubble screens, I think it's a bonus for him to not have to worry about that as much because you can just rip those things out there. And back shoulders, obviously, you want a guy that's got some power in his arm and slants, all the above. I think it's a bonus because we don't have that touch passing game like a lot of other offenses do. But I just think that it just comes with time too. And it comes with knowing your receivers. It comes with Darryl being able to have more reps with these guys. So he knows what guys he doesn't have to take juice off for and what guys he does. You may have some receivers that they don't care, no matter what the ball, they want it, just put it on me and put it in a good spot and I'll catch it. And, some guys may not. Your running backs, they need to take a little juice off. They may need it to be right in front of them. You can't have the ball low and stuff like that. I mean, there's so many factors that go into that, especially, I just think it's reps, Yeah,
and everybody catches the ball a little bit different as well, right. and every quarterback throws the ball at different speeds and all that stuff. So it's not only the quarterback that has to adjust, but the receivers as well.
And, the ball, and I could tell you this from playing on both sides as a receiver and a quarterback, balls just look different coming out of different guys' hands, and I tell you, it's almost a mental challenge to be comfortable with your quarterback, be comfortable with your quarterback and know his launch angles, know what throws he's going to put at, this velocity, at this launch angle, how much air he's going to put on this ball. And so it's a mental game as a receiver as well to be able to adapt and just, it's odd how just a different delivery can kind of mess with you as a receiver too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
But luckily we got a lot of talent out there. That's another position that's just littered with talent. Them and running backs catching the ball out of the backfield. I mean, that's one of our strong points. So, again, another bonus for having this transition.
Yeah. Well, and we have extremely talented bunch of running backs, and then this quarterback Darryl can run the ball a little bit. He's such a big guy that when he runs and takes off up the middle, there's some guys that are going to get out of his way. To be honest with you, you've seen.
You don't worry as much with him running as you do with KZ. That's for sure.
Right. You're right.
Yeah. I think too that to that point. I was just thinking of. When one quarterback gets hurt, you think, well, what's next? You're playing with the second string. Well, now your third string guy is now your backup. And, we haven't seen any other than a double pass from Quadri Jones earlier in the year. We haven't seen any of the other quarterbacks. And so that's a worry, too, with having a guy like Darryl who's going to create offense and he's going to run, and you can't stop him from doing that. But you better have in the back of your head that you're going to want to protect him a little bit, and you're going to want to take some of those hits off just in case. There's other creative ways to do that. And I remember you and I talking earlier in the year about some wrinkles that we may see with guys like, Marlon Williams and getting him involved in some wildcat situations, possibly maybe Otis Anderson back there, and mixing it up so that you're getting all those quarterback run type and you're getting different looks on the offensive side of the ball, but you're taking some of that pressure off of Darryl. I think that's how they're going to need to get creative. I do think that, there's 2 games left in this season, right? And it's a conference championship, which is the most exciting or the most important right now. It's the next one, but I think it's huge to kind of stake our claim, especially in American. But it's not like you got to worry about a 7-game stretch where you got to keep your quarterback healthy, but It's a worry, and it's just it needs to be on their forefront.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be shocked to see Quadri Jones out there maybe coming in and doing something. He's still got some time because he only threw one pass, and with the new rules for red shirts, technically he has 3 games that he could play.
In a pinch. I mean, I would not be surprised to see him.
Well, not even just in a pinch, but a trick play, especially something like that they did at the ECU game where he just came and threw that one pass. I would not be surprised at all to see that. In fact, I hope we see that.
I know. And he's athletic enough, too, where I would not be surprised to see him in wildcat situations and see him doing some breed option and, and RPOs and stuff like that, because he's extremely athletic. And he's a guy you could take a couple hits off of Darryl from. And, that gets Darryl more comfortable, too, because, it lets him settle into the game. It lets him take a step back in the middle of the drive, take a second, recoup, get back in there, and feel more comfortable. And those are the things in his situation that you see good coaches do, you see good programs do, because they don't miss a beat with other guys. If they need to change it up and do some wildcat, good offenses don't miss a beat. And those are the types of things that will be very, very important, whether it's wildcat or just, slowing it down or whatever. I guarantee Heupel will have something to get Darryl more comfortable and get him settled into this game.
He's also had a week of practice, or will have a week of practice with the ones, so that has to help a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, especially, fall camp is one thing. You don't always get everyone gets reps in fall camp, and you get a ton of reps, and it's great. But once the season starts and you got 1s and 2s, they're sparing reps for the 2s, man. And I don't care how well your quarterback is or whatever. Kenzie was taking a lot of those reps. I can guarantee that. And so even that from a standpoint of experience for Darryl is probably huge this week. And it's probably done him tenfold. I mean, he's probably gotten 5 times more reps this week than he's gotten all year on running with the 2s. It's usually 4 to 6 plays with the ones and 2 to 3 plays with the twos, and then you cycle back. And so it's huge for him this week to roll with the ones, get with those receivers, communicating with the O-line, having all those guys on the same page. And so those are things that are just like we talked about, him knowing when to take some juice off the ball, him knowing his receivers, knowing even mesh points with the running backs and stuff like that in the run game is huge. So I think it'll do him wonders.
Well, another thing is, there's still Hayden Kingston. Isn't that his name back there? Hayden?
Yeah.
Is it Hayden?
He got a couple snaps late in that game.
Oh, did they put him in the at the end of the?
Drive,
okay. See, I didn't even see that, to be honest with you. I was probably texting on my phone or something at that point. So
he didn't do anything but hand off. But shoot, anyone that's played college athletics, snaps are snaps. Getting that first college snap under your belt is huge, and you never know. You never know what situation we're going to be put in.
It'll be interesting to see who is number 2 and number 3 because they have to dress Quadri Jones, I would think, for this game.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you have to.
You have to have.
And I got to tell you, they might not know, going into the game until they need to make a decision. We'll see. It will be interesting.
It could be very interesting for Memphis to have to look over there and wonder who's coming out and all that stuff. I would think that they would open the playbook a little bit more for Darryl Mack this week versus like what we saw at ECU. I don't think that it'll be a game like that.
Right. I would agree with you 100%. If you're going to compare it to what you saw at East Carolina, no doubt about it. I think
he's got to throw the ball.
You have to. Yeah. And even if you look at our game earlier this year with Memphis, we didn't run the ball very well at all. We didn't have a 100-yard rusher of any of the guys. McKenzie threw. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
McKenzie threw for almost 300 yards, but we didn't have a 100-yard rusher. We didn't run the ball very well. We're going to have to this week. And so, we'll see. I think that's the key to the game is if we're going to be able to run the rock. That'll be the pillar of our offense. And
I got 2 words for you. Greg McCrae,
no doubt. Yeah. This was one of the first games, I think, if I'm remembering right, we saw him get some touches.
Yeah.
He was other than, I think
that was
Taj,
where he really turned it on.
Yeah, it was. And I think he had I was looking at it earlier to refresh, kind of 60 yards or something. And we had a heavy dose of Taj in this game. I remember thinking back that they put a lot of emphasis on the power run game against Memphis. And there was some weather, and that could have played a factor. And Taj is a great back. But I just think that they're going to have to be more creative in the run game, but they're going to have to lean on the run game. But that opens up the pass for Darryl.
Right.
But like you said, they're going to, if they're one-dimensional and they shut him down and if they take his confidence away as a passer, it could be interesting to see where they go as an offense. But Heupel's creative, man. He is very creative in the pass game.
He is.
I know
it's not real flashy. There's not a bunch of movement and stuff, but man, there's a lot going on there.
And there's a lot of open receivers, man. You know, and there's a lot of guys running.
I've been trying to study his, and it's a little late, I know, but I've been trying to study where he came from, the offenses that he was influenced by, and there's a lot there.
There's a lot of good minds.
With Jeff Lebby up in the booth as well, quote-unquote quarterbacks coach, which I don't really think that that's all that he's doing. I think he's more of a quasi-offensive coordinator.
I think so, too.
With his knowledge as far as Baylor's offense, you've heard people compare this to Baylor's offense. But
huge.
And
that's where, in their passing game, not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
In their passing game, specifically, I think, is where you really compare them to Baylor, because I think the way they get so creative and the way that they can be very multiple in the passing game is because they use the entire field. Their spacing on their receivers is awesome. They're way in their plus splits. They're way out by the sideline. They use the whole field. And when you do that, you really put a lot of pressure on defensive backs and you put a lot of pressure on outside linebackers. And I think that's why we have such a strong run game, because it spreads out the box. It makes them defend the whole field. It makes it you take those unbalanced looks where you might still be in a 2-by-2 look, but it seems unbalanced because you have to respect that entire side of the field. So I think Baylor kind of coined that. They kind of coined using those plus splits and getting creative. And I just love that. I think that's where our passing game really gets fun to watch.
Right. And then you have a little bit of Mike Leach as well in Heupel. Heupel's technically part of his tree. So
you don't think he took a bunch from a guy like that, Heupel seems like a guy that no matter where he's at, he's gonna take a few he's gonna take a few tidbits here and there, and he's one of the more creative minds in our whole game right now in Leach, and I don't know. I think this week more than anyone, I don't see Heupel as a guy that likes to get got, if you will, twice. And Memphis sort of got us earlier this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's putting a couple extra hours in the Moonlight Candle, not only to get comfortable with Daryl and have a steady game plan, but maybe stick one to Memphis this week.
Right, absolutely. Well, I guess let's talk a little bit about Memphis since we've spent 22 minutes talking about Daryl Mack, basically. Which, I think that this is an important thing for the fans to hear us talking about Daryl Mack. That's where all the questions are. That's what everybody wants to know. That's what everybody has asked me all week long so far. But what about Memphis? They have taken kind of a weird path to this championship. Have you got to watch them? Have you seen the progression that they've made?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking very similarly earlier on how kind of different it is. Especially, it's hard not to directly correlate this year and last year with our two programs and sort of the crash course we've been on for each other. Last year was a much, much different team than this year's Memphis team. You could start with their quarterback as well. And Riley Ferguson last year, he's a decorated dude, super talent. They had a lot of confidence in him. They got very creative, and they did a lot because they had him. This year, and they had a good running game last year as well. But this year, they start and end with the run game, and their quarterback is very talented, and he makes some plays. But it's a much different look Memphis team. You can even look at the records last year when we played them in the conference championship. They were 10-2, I think. They were sitting in a much better position nationally, and certainly as a team this year with 4 losses. That changes a lot. That changes a lot to be a 4-loss team and a 2-loss team. In today's game, I mean, we all know how forgotten 4-loss teams are, especially group of 5 teams. I just think that this year's Memphis team looks so much different because they put a major emphasis on the run game. What they did to us a few weeks ago when we played them is they really killed us off tackle. We had a really hard time setting the edge against them. Our defensive ends did not play very well. Our outside linebackers didn't play very well. And so they were able to run off tackle and gash us. Their running back's name is evading me right now, but I think he rushed for about 200 yards on us. Darrell Henderson, that's right. Darrell Henderson Jr., I think. But he was almost a 200-yard rusher against us, and then they had another kid that was up there over 50. And so, they're on a roll right now as far as their run game goes. They're sort of hitting their stride. And so, I just think again, it's a big week. And obviously, all eyes are on the offense, like you said. All eyes are on Daryl Mack and how he's going to do. But big week for our defense. This is a team that scored 30 points on us earlier this year, and certainly our defense is catching their stride a little bit more than they were earlier in the year. We all know that, but I just think it's a huge week for our defensive ends, our front seven, but within our front seven, our outside linebackers and defensive ends specifically.
Yeah. Their running back, I was trying to look here while you were talking and you stopped talking. I was trying to see, he's way up there on the rushing yards. I think that he is.
Well, he was
he's definitely
the national leader for a while.
He is. Number 2, actually. He is number 2.
I know for a while, certainly the first time we played him, he was definitely number 1. I don't know when he lost that claim, but I mean, number 2's not all that bad.
He lost it by like 300 yards, which is crazy. Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin, sophomore running back, 1,989 yards. And then Darrell Henderson from Memphis, 1,699 yards.
What's the difference in carries between those two guys, just out of curiosity? Does it say?
Taylor from Wisconsin has 280 carries, and Henderson has 198.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then Henderson actually has more touchdowns, though. He has 19 touchdowns, and Taylor for Wisconsin has 15. I was getting him and Singletary mixed up because Singletary is 8th. He finished 8th on the regular season with 1,300. But he also has 22 touchdowns. So
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But
so he's a talent, man. And this is a week. We shut him down. We're able to put some pressure on the quarterback then for stopping the run game. I mean, it is a huge week to stop that guy.
Well, let's talk about our defense a little bit. Our defense has really turned it on in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, really since probably, I guess, the last 3 weeks. Well, this will be the third week, I guess, because Cincinnati is where they really came out like just rolling.
Gangbusters, absolutely.
A little bit different with like the defensive line play and the defense playing as a whole in the last few weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you said it. Cincinnati was the huge game. I think everyone sort of turned it up for that one. But our defense, we talked about how they were lacking a little bit of swag, a little fire, a little excitement. I think that's when they really found it. Call it game day, atmosphere, call it whatever you want. I don't care as long as they find it. I think that they are the looks they've been showing since Cincinnati, I think they found a little something and what they're comfortable with. Our DBs have been a pretty strong point, especially our safeties all year. They played a lot of man looks since Cincinnati. They've put some pressure on their corners outside. They've been playing like this two-man type of look. So to the layman, it's man coverage with our DBs, and then you take your two safeties, and they have half of the field, and the other one's got another half of the field, and they're able to play over top of those corners and give them a little support. But what that also does, if teams come out in bigger looks and they have tight ends and running backs in the game, it allows you to put more people in the box. It allows you to be a little more sturdy against the run. It allows you to get creative with some of your blitz packages, maybe get creative with some of your stunts and twists up front as well. I think that they have some confidence in their DBs, rightfully so, and they have sort of found that since the Cincinnati game. I've really liked what they've done, especially if you've got some good DBs in today's game. Memphis is no exception to this, but we talked about it with Cincinnati with the RPOs and being able to attack you vertically with the RPOs. Being in man coverage, especially with the safety over the top, is a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage to cut some of that stuff off. What it does is it forces teams to attack you on the outside, with comebacks and back shoulder fades, stuff like that, quick outs, hitches, all that kind of good stuff, everything outside the numbers. And that is not always what teams are suited for, especially teams that are run heavy and RPO heavy. That is a downfall to today's offenses, and which is why I like the scheme, and I like being able to put Pat Jasinski in the box and let him be aggressive and let him blitz a little bit and set the edge every once in a while and play outside. It's been a good look. Our defense is hitting their stride. This is a huge week for them again. I'll be looking at our defense just as much as I'm anxious to see Darryl Mack play. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, interesting that while you were talking there, I was still looking at the rushing stats, and we've got somebody up in the top 70, we'll say.
Yeah.
Greg McCrae is way up there, actually, 66. But here's the key with him. We were talking about numbers of rushes. He has 99 rushes.
Jeez.
Guess how many yards he's got piled on there?
Oh, man.
895 in 99 rushes.
I love it.
So,
that's gashing, man.
It's really gashing because if you look at anybody that's around him, they're in the 170s, 160s, 180s, 190s, and he's right at 99, not even 100 rushes, and he's got 895 yards. So we very well might have a 1,000-yard rusher in Greg McCrae by the end of the bowl game.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. That is probably more probable than not, I would assume, with the way that they've been running the ball. And the cool thing about that is that, no disrespect to Greg McCrae at all, he's been incredible this year. Probably the least expected from him than all of our backs. I mean, we got a talented stable back there. I think he might have been on the lower end of the totem pole as far as who we thought would go for 1,000 yards this year.
Not anymore.
No doubt. Absolutely.
I think that next year's running back depth chart will look a little different. It better.
Absolutely.
Because he is an absolute machine, man.
He is. I think it already does too. I mean, I think I think that change has been made, and he's been welcomed here. I know that much. He's a machine. He's been awesome.
I think this week, I have to look at the stats again, but I believe he had another one of those 16 rushes for like 181 yards or something like that.
He was under 20 carries for under 20 carries for over 100 yards, which is always, that's exceptional. That's for sure. He's been awesome. But our offensive line too they have been huge this year, which
Absolutely.
has not been always our strong point. But I got to tell you, Wyatt Miller and Johnson up there anchoring it down, who was first team all conference, was just it's just huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Well, if you look at the rushes from this last game against USF, it was McCray 16 carries for 181, Taj McGowan 11 carries for 72. Killens 14 carries for 68, and then Mack 10 carries for 55. So,
spreading the wealth.
Yeah.
But that's to our point earlier is, all the pressure is not on Daryl Mack. He has talent around him. They have the guys in place to be able to take pressure off him and not have to create as much offense as you maybe think, that McKenzie's vacating. And let's not, he is. We're vacating a lot of offense with McKenzie not being there. But it can be generated in a ton of different places, and I think you'll see that this week.
I think so, too. All right, well, keys to the game to do this thing against Memphis and win the American Championship for the second year in a row and be truly undefeated for another year.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'll start with the defense, and I think it's to hold their whole rushing attack under 150 yards. I think that is if that's your goal, if they do that, Memphis does not score a whole lot of points, and we'll win that game. I think if we hold them under 150 yards of total rushing, that's a huge key to our entire team's success. I think we score more points than them at that. I don't know what that number is. I couldn't tell you a number. I just know that that we'd be successful with our DBs and their passing game. If they can't run the rock for more than that, they'll be in trouble. And then on the offensive side, I just think it's to get Daryl Mack involved in the passing game as soon as possible. I don't think there's a reason to wait and run the rock and make us one-dimensional early in the game just to protect him. I don't think that's needed. I think they need to get his feet wet early and often and allow him to show some of that talent, also to send a message to Memphis that we won't be one-dimensional. Don't care who's back there. We've got talent, and Daryl's going to rip this thing. And I think that it's a huge, huge opportunity for them to send a message to Memphis that they're going to have to cover the whole field still. They're going to have to account for the passing game, maybe even a little bit more, and to show his talents. I think that's a huge key this week.
Yeah, I want him to come out thinking that we're going to run the entire time, and then Daryl's going to rip one off like for 60 yards or whatever down the side.
Just like last week, and he rips that post. I forget who it was, but shoot, if that doesn't scream arm talent, I don't know what does.
The last time Memphis ran for 281 yards on us.
And you see what happens. That keeps
Henderson had 199 of those.
Yep.
And then we ran for 165 on them. And Taj McGowan had the most with only 4 touches for 81 yards, but he had that 71-yarder. Yeah. So that it was Killens really that got the largest amount of carries, and it was only 11 for 40 yards. McCray had 7 for 58.
Yeah, we couldn't get much going at all, other than Taj's big run on the run game at all. It'd be interesting to see how that pans out, because who knows with Memphis. I mean, that could be as simple as them having a key and read on our pullers. That could be just something they know about our run game that they're confident in. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Hype will get creative, I think, no doubt, on spreading the wealth, on getting touches. I just think it's huge to get the passing game going early. And again, I mean, with them having all those rushing yards, that keeps the ball out of our offense's hands. That keeps our defense on the field, which we already do a poor job of, time of possession just because of the speed of our offense.
I think that may change a little bit, though, with Mack. I think they're going to have to slow it down a little bit, but he can run the tempo. We've seen him run the tempo a couple times, and I guarantee you they're working tempo this week during practice.
I hope so, because that's what they do best, and that's everyone else that's what they're used to, and that's how they're clicking. And so it's hard to change the entire identity of the offense. You want to protect him a little bit, and you want to work to his strengths, and you want to get him comfortable. But at the same time, you don't want to compromise, who you are. And your offensive line
multidimensionally, though, we can do that if we need to. We can definitely slow it down and play possession. So, awesome. I think that we all know who needs to step up this week. It's
point.
Yeah, it's really got to be pretty much everybody's got to step up and make a statement this week. Everybody needs to still, obviously everybody's going to have a lot of emotion, and they're going to want to win it for KZ.
Right.
Does that hurt or help? I think that this team can really absorb that and take that and make it a positive thing, personally.
I think it helps. Yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's such a positive influence. He's such a positive personality, his whole aura, his vibe, whatever you want to call it. I think it helps. We have a mature team, too. We got guys that have been around, guys that are pretty experienced, and guys that have been on a big stage before, so it's not like we have an immature team with a lot of freshmen, and so we got guys that can handle it and guys that are successful in their own right to be able to take that emotion and really use it for the positive. I think you'll see that turn into a huge positive for us.
And even if Mackenzie's not there in person, he will definitely be there in spirit.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
So
no doubt. You'll feel him in that stadium. I can guarantee that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can guarantee that.
Well, thank you, man. I greatly appreciate it. Always good talking to you. I think that we can do it. I really do. I think that we can get it done. I have confidence in Daryl Mack. I have confidence in the rest of the team. I have confidence in our coaches.
I do too.
I think
confidence in our seniors, and our coaches and all that, for sure. I'm with you. I really have confidence in the overall talent of this team. I think we have the ability to do it. I really do.
Heupel got robbed today in the Coach of the Year for the American.
Yeah, he did.
That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
If you go undefeated in this fashion, I mean, come on.
And it's not easy to do what he's done with, even though he inherited a wonderful team, it's still not easy to do that either because these aren't your guys. None of them are your guys.
And it's your first year here. I mean, it's not easy to do that when if Frost was here, it would have been hard for him to do it twice. It's hard for anybody.
Yeah.
Especially your first year in a new program. First year as a head coach in general. Not like we hired Bob Stoops to come out of retirement, But it's been close. That's for sure.
Well, I thanked you once, and then I made another comment, so I'm going to thank you again.
Too much to talk about.
Absolutely. We could talk for hours.
I know. I'm with you.
All right,
but
man.
No, thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.
All right, well, KZ heals. It's time for Daryl Mack and this special group of Knights to finish what they started and beat Memphis for the American Championship. Here's what you need to do before Saturday's 3:30 p.m. kickoff in a game airing on ABC. Listen to Knightline 172 as we reflect on KZ's injury, plus we talk with former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel and former Knight Ben Stout. A welcome addition to our men's basketball coverage for this season. Plus, your prep for Saturday's AAC Championship continues with the latest episode of the Sons of UCF. Be sure to stop by the softball lot and say hi, look for the big school bus painted black, or message us via Twitter at UCF_Knightline to say hi. Wear those Hawaiian shirts and flowered leis and cheer the Knights like you've never cheered them before. For Trey Strelko, I'm Andrew Fegley. Thanks for listening to Knightline Extra. Go Knights and charge on.